प्रभु तव मूर्ति विनोदकारी, पलपन विसरे नहीं जो विसारी। जुगल चरण सोल चिन्ह जेह, नजर समीपे रहो हमारी एह। श्री हरि कृष्ण महाराज नी जय, घनश्याम महाराज नी जय। Supreme Lord Entity, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, our divine and always God-oriented Pujapad Guruji, and all of you devotees who are viewing this lecture, my humble Jai Swaminarayan. For countless lives, we have been traveling in the circle of life and death, experiencing emotions ranging from happiness to misery. Yet, progress has not been made even after joining the divine holy satsang fellowship, meaning joining this religion. We have not made any progress. You may think that you have, but according to Shree Maharaj, progress has a different definition. We have not found peace even after attaining God, His saints, or His devotees. What is the reason for all this? There's only one reason, and that's our swabhav, or base nature, we can say. Examples such as greed, anger, ego, lust, jealousy, these are all called natures that have been attached to the soul for innumerable time. Due to this, we are unable to experience the bliss in our religion. Due to this blindfold, we're unable to see, experience, or feel the divinity of the satsang fellowship. But obviously a question comes to mind. To any mind, you can say, what type of medication is required to cure this fatal disease? In scriptures, there are many ways shown. Many different religions have many ways of showing how our base nature can be eradicated. But according to Shriji Maharaj, according to the Vachanamrut, Maharaj says in Vachanamrut Karyani 12th chapter that these are his exact words. I'll read to you so you can get a firm understanding. Regardless of how lustful, angry, greedy, or lewd a person may be, if one listens to Katha with faith and love, all his flaws would be eradicated. Therefore, no better method is there to stabilize the mind and to free it of the desires from the Vishays than by listening to Katha with faith and love. This is what Maharaj says. The best remedy, the best way to get rid of those base nature is to listen to the Katha of God. Now, first and foremost, we have to understand what Katha is. Katha is obviously a Gujarati word, but to define it in English, Katha means preachings or religious discourses, or you can say talks. Talks regarding the divine incidents of God, His saints and devotees, or it can just be the philosophy of the religion, or pretty much any kind of religious talk to make it simple. Now, one needs Katha in order to progress. The main thing is to progress. But if one cannot progress, then there is no point. So, first and foremost, Shree Maharaj says that if one listens to Katha with faith and love, two things are needed, faith and love. Only faith cannot do, and only love cannot do. Both is needed. Meaning, there's a saying that you can't clap with only one hand. You need both hands. In the same way, faith and love is needed as well. And look at his words. Look at how much emphasis, and look at how much confidence he says. He says there's no better method to stabilize the mind. Meaning, there's so many kinds of spiritual endeavors, like meditation, or austerities, or doing Mara, Danvat, Puja. But all these are good, and all these are beneficial. But according to Vachanamrut, according to Maharaj, he's saying there's no better method than to stabilize the mind than to listen to Katha. Look at how much great emphasis he has on these words. And obviously, listening has only to do with the ears. You don't need to apply any other senses. You don't need eyes. You don't need tongue. You don't need any of these other senses, but you just need ears. You just need to listen. And then after listening, applying is the next step. It may be difficult at first, but every human being, anything he does new, it always seems difficult, like driving a car. In high school, when you learn in driver's education how to drive a car, you're very afraid at first. When the instructor takes you out on the road, you're very afraid that you might crash, and it's just something new. But once you start practicing, once you start putting the time into it, once you start putting your hours, then it becomes very easy. And after some time, then you become a very experienced person at driving. In the same way, after listening to the Katha of God, it may be hard at once to apply, but very small doses, meaning very small amounts, if you start applying to your life, then it really makes a great difference in the future. And it becomes very easy as well to progress. Now, Katha is a framework that molds your spiritual life. Just like how your cell phone or your iPod or iPad or any kind of electronic devices needs charging. In the same way, our soul needs charging, meaning in the form of religion. And there's no better form of energy to charge our soul than to listen to the talks of God, His saints, and devotees. And also in Vachanamrut, Bhagwan states in Gadara last chapter, 24th Vachanamrut, that one attains noble virtues by listening to the talks related to God, and one's vicious natures are destroyed. Meaning, also when you listen to Katha, another benefit is you also develop noble virtues. Meaning, everyone has some kind of good quality inside. But to develop qualities that God likes, to develop qualities that saints like, is a whole different level. Meaning in the world, there's always people who are trustworthy. There will always be people who are kind. There will always be people who are courageous. These are all good, noble qualities. But beyond that, in the religious perspective, what are good qualities? Well, we can say dharma, following the codes of conduct, gnan, meaning knowledge of the soul, of the world, of God itself, bhakti, the devotion. These are all good qualities. These are all good virtues one develops by listening to Katha. And these are needed in order to attain God. That's why it's such a big factor. That's why it's such an important factor to listen to Katha. For example, Just like any venom is capable of nullifying venom, meaning destroying venom inside the human body. Suppose someone was bit by a snake, a venomous snake like a king cobra or a rattlesnake. Obviously, now according to modern science, there's antidotes made, antivenoms made. And if one is injected with that, then the antivenom kills the venom, which is destroying your body. So you're saved. In the same way, Katha, taken in small doses every day, detoxifies the poison of Maya, meaning illusion, that we are constantly bombarded by in our daily lives. Well, what is Katha like? I want to give you some modern examples. First, Katha is like a mirror, meaning Katha shows you your flaws, your drawbacks, and helps you realize them. The most difficult thing is it's not as hard to destroy your flaws as it is hard to first identify your flaws. If you first can see something, then you can go after it. If you can see that there's an enemy there, then you can go and destroy it. In the same way, if you can see your flaws, then you can fight against them. There's various methods in the Vachanamrut, Swami Nivato, to destroy these drawbacks. But first, you have to see, and the best mirror for this is listening to Katha. My second example for you is Katha is like an elevator. It takes one up without any effort. Similarly, performing other spiritual endeavors like chanting, meditation, singing kirtans are all beneficial, but they're like a flight of stairs. You get tired because you have to work at it. You have to keep climbing up. And if there's a lot of flight of stairs, then one can get exhausted and one may have to take a break. But Katha is such an easy method. All you do is just sit and you listen, and then you apply. There's no other requirements to listen to Katha. There's no other hard obstacles for that. That's why it's the easiest obstacle or endeavor of all as well. My third example for you is Katha is like a master key. Meaning, what does a master key do? Think about it. It opens all the doors to any locks of a building. In the same way, Katha opens the gateway to attaining liberation. Anything you want to achieve, anything you want to get from the spiritual world, you can do by listening to Katha and applying it to your life. And fourth, Katha is like a washing machine. It cleans the toughest stains and the dirtiest clothes, and it also adds freshness to our clothes. Meaning, the process of washing clothes is first you have to put it in the washer, turn on the water, and then you put the detergent powder in, and then it washes your clothes. The first part is obviously destroying all the bad stains and the grease or whatever dirty particles may be in your clothes. After that, you dry your clothes. And after drying, you can wear your clothes. In the same way, Katha purifies one's mind, body, and soul. Meaning you may think, yeah, sure, it may purify my mind because things are being put into my mind by my ears. When someone listens to Katha, it goes to their ears, and then from the ears, it goes directly to the brain. Obviously, that is a direct connection from one person to another. But how could it purify my body? Well, by listening to Katha, one's body is purified because one learns methods to stay clean, to stay away from any bad habits that may, disturb one's body. So one pretty much gains knowledge. That's the main point. And third, the soul. Well, this is a very hard concept because only after listening to many, many times, many hours of Katha, one soul is affected and one really develops new change and true change in one's life. So that's why. But in what way, you can say? Well, first, divine incidents or philosophy or any kind of religious talks washes out one's polluted mind. Meaning, many people have thoughts of the world, but at the time when you're listening to Katha, only talks of God, only talks of pure holy saints are delivered to you. And that is only what one hears. So meaning only those things are going inside your brain. There's no other distractions that are coming in your brain. And then once you start listening to more and more Katha, I want to give you an example. Imagine a pot of dirty mud water. It's filled with it. But if you start pouring pure fresh water into the pot and just keep continuing pouring the water, then eventually all the dirty mud water will overflow and only pure water will remain. In the same way, the metaphor is the dirty mud water is Maya, meaning the bad thoughts that are disturbing us, all our vicious natures, all this is inside of our mind, attached with our soul actually. But when that pure water in the form of Katha is poured, then slowly all those bad thoughts start to become eradicated and eventually only pure thoughts remain. When this process happens, then one can contemplate on God. One can see the form of God. One can experience the bliss of God. But there is no other better method to stabilize the mind, according to Vachanamrut again, Karyani 12th chapter. I recommend one should really read this Vachanamrut. If you do not have a Vachanamrut, then you can also search online for English Vachanamrut, and you can find that this Vachanamrut is such a useful Vachanamrut to make spiritual progress and to help develop faith in God and develop love in God, that I can truly say that out of the 262 Vachanamruts, this is probably one of the top 5 to really attain liberation and to attain oneness with God. And in the end, our true goal is to do that. So just like how there's a technique or a way of doing everything, meaning there's a technique or a way to ride a bike, there's a technique to eating, there's ways to do your homework, there's ways to do a project, there's a way to dress yourself. Each and everything has a technique or a way to do it. In the same way, Katha also has a way to listen to it and also to do the Katha. Well, obviously, we don't have to do any Katha, but obviously listening is a big part of Katha. So we've learned the theoretical way. I've given you knowledge, but let's learn the practical way. Just to set the stage, let me give you some background information. To tell Katha is an art. Similarly, to listen to Katha is also an art. Shatanand Swami is the author of Satsangi Jivan, and inside the Satsangi Jivan, he's written a certain procedure to listening to Katha. This is a proper way that one should listen to Katha, meaning the discourses of God or religious talks in particularly. Just to think about etiquette, when we are even listening to someone else or even just talking to someone, one should mark oneself that one is doing some other task or one is just only paying attention halfway and one's mind is somewhere else, and it's just not the right etiquette. In the same way, when you come into religion, there's also an etiquette. There's also a technique that's needed, and especially to listen to Katha, there's a big technique, and today I want to introduce it to you. So first and foremost, when you're sitting in front of a priest, a saint, or even a devotee who's doing Katha, one should keep quiet and listen to it. Meaning one should not talk to anyone next to oneself, or one should not even talk at all. One should keep silent and one should listen. Second, one should honor the person, the speaker, who's doing Katha. The reason for this is that look at how great of a benefit you're receiving. You're having someone that is helping you understand God, helping you understand His glory, His greatness. Then how should you honor such a person like that? We tend to honor people that we are friends with. We tend to honor people that are superior to us. That's all great. But more important, the person who is showing you on the path of God, the person who is helping you reach a high spiritual status, if that person is not honored, then that's a great loss towards our side. So the second step is to honor the speaker. Third is to sit straight in Indian posture, we can say, and be patient, meaning don't be fidgety. Be very calm and sit in a fashion where your hands are not moving, your feet are not moving. You can say very, very silent in such a way. Also, another rule is never get up in the middle of Katha. That's disrespect towards the speaker, and also it's distracting towards him as well. And also the people who are sitting around you or in front of you or behind you, it also distracts them and breaks their concentration. That's why it should not be done. Also, never sit barehanded in Katha, meaning one should always have the Mara, the rosary, spinning, because there's a rule that while listening to Katha, one should always be chanting the name of God. So your mind does not waver to any other areas, and one's mind stays on the Katha or the speaker, you can say. The reason for this is the mind is kind of like a monkey. An example is given by Shashtriji Maharaj in the Vachran. The mind is like a monkey or like a small child. It just keeps jumping around from here to there, having various thoughts, and where one does not pay attention, then one cannot learn, and one's mind wavers off somewhere else. Also, another rule is you also probably learn in school that you should not chew anything in class. In the same way, one should not chew gum or any kind of things pertaining to eating or anything using the mouth while listening to Katha. Also, whenever you have doubt or whenever you have a question, then you should listen to Katha. But after Katha, then you should tell the speaker if you have a question, but you should not blurt it out or ask a question right when he's talking, because that's rude. And also we learn this in American ethics as well. And lastly, this is a more Hindu-based tradition, but one should eat less on the day of Katha, because one's senses are controlled in that form. But this doesn't apply to everyone. You should eat. I don't recommend that you don't eat or fast when you're listening to Katha, but it's just a method that Shatan Swami has shown. This is the true way to listen to Katha. So today we've learned the importance of listening to Katha, the importance of the discourses of God, and through this we can attain God. Through this we can destroy our base nature, and through this we can obtain moral and noble qualities. So I suggest to all of you that our YouTube channel, it's Loyadham USA. There's many preachings by Pujya Santo, and one should listen to these kathas in order to gain better knowledge of our sampradaya. Hare Krishna Maharaj Ni Jai. Sri Patim Sri Dhanam